Who are you?
I'm no one.
Alright, welcome back to another D&D movie time. And I'm going to make this prediction right here and now that these are probably going to be some of the longer videos of this series. Mostly because as we go through each movie, I'm going to be making comments and things about that happen. And I'm going to constantly be talking about some arguments that I had with a friend of mine, Anime D Senpai, who you guys have seen on the channel before. And some things we've had discussions about, things he said he didn't like, and things I defend, even to this day. I have my own thoughts, but a large portion of this entire thing has been so that Cora, who needs to sit up with her glitter on her forehead, Cora, I want her to develop her own from what she's seen so far. Her own thoughts, her own ideas, her own judgments on this story. So I will probably keep my comments and stuff reserved for more towards the end of the videos. So if you make it to the end of the video and you want me to hear how things work realistically in this new Star Wars universe, because this is after Disney bought Star Wars, yeah, I can give you a lot to take into consideration and hopefully change a few hearts and minds. But ultimately, it'll be your decision, just like it'll be Cora's decision now on what she thinks of it. So, Cora, what all, in a general sense, keeping it as brief as you can, what do you remember from the last trilogy?
Darth Vader.
What about him?
He died.
Okay, he died. Anything else?
The Emperor died.
Are you sure?
Yes, he died. And he fell into like electronic bullets.
Well, that didn't kill Darth Maul, did it?
Well, what the...
And you've already seen episode 9. You've already, I mean...
I have?
Yes, we went to the movies to see it with one of our friends. Anime D Senpai. We went to see it with him.
But I'm not watching episode 9.
Yes, you are. Well, not now, but you will be. We're going to do a review of that when we get around to it.
Yeah, but still not watching episode 9 now.
No, but these are the two that lead into episode 9, 7, and 8. But anyways, basically the rebellion won. The Empire is on its way out. And now we're going to jump forward 20 years. So you ready to jump in and see what the sequel trilogy has in store for you?
I hope so.
Alright, well, we're going to go ahead and go watch the movie. And when we come back, Cora can tell us what happened.
Bye.
Who are you?
I'm
no one.
I was raised to do one thing. But I've got nothing to fight for. Nothing will stand in our way. I will finish what you started.
There were stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it. The dark side. The Jedi. They're real.
The Force. It's calling to you. Just let it in.
Alright, so we just finished Star Wars. Episode 7, The Force Awakens. What was this movie about, Cora?
So basically,
Excuse you.
So basically, we meet up on a, what's the Dark Force's new name?
Kylo Ren?
No, not the actor.
No, that's the name of the character, Kylo Ren.
Oh, not the character. Whatever the Force is called again.
Who are you trying to figure out? The
I'm not trying to figure it out too. I'm trying to figure out the name for the
planet?
The big, yeah, the planet. The big.
Well, you're jumping way ahead. Start at the beginning. Because all we see is some ships arriving at a planet called Jakku.
I can't remember how to explain this.
And then we see stormtroopers coming down.
And then they attack the planet, trying to get the map to find Luke Skywalker.
And who's leading these stormtroopers? Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren.
And who are they going? Who's their target? Who's trying to get away from the First Order?
I'm trying to figure out the name. The First Order. Jeez.
Come on.
Okay. Anyways,
Poe.
Poe.
Poe. And BB-8.
Poe and BB-8. BB-8 is kind of like, without him, this movie just like doesn't exist. Like, yes, you can replace, well, I shouldn't say him, he's an android, but still.
But what's going on? Okay, so the stormtroopers are coming, the First Order's coming. They're there to find a map to Luke. Do they get the map?
No!
What happens?
The map gets away. That's one.
How? It just walks on its own?
It literally did.
No. Poe gave it to BB-8. You just sat and watched the movie. Poe gives the map to BB-8. Tells BB-8 to go run and hide, basically. And lets himself get captured. And then Kylo Ren orders that the village be murdered.
And then one of the stormtroopers are like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to do something good for once.
Actually, he's just scared out of his mind.
Yeah, that and what I said, but...
There's a difference, Cora. He doesn't suddenly decide to change sides. He is scared, so he doesn't want to kill anybody. But anyways, continue on. Then who do we meet? Rey.
When I think her name was?
Rey.
Rey.
And what's Rey's story?
She's like a slave or something?
Kinda. She's a scavenger. I mean, so basically what you gather throughout the movie is before, when she was a child, she was left on Jakku in the care of that dude that she was buying food from, that she was scavenging parts for. And she's an adult now, so she's kind of living on her own, forced to take care of herself. And she makes a living she gets food and what she needs by scavenging parts of old crashed ships from a war 20 years ago at the fall of the Empire. So basically she's rummaging through old Empire ships, getting parts, repairing them so they can be resold by her.
Are they planning on... Is that just one plan? Is that just like one town plan to build like their own Death Star?
No.
Or like their own thingamabob?
No. Basically, they just salvage the ships and get the parts they need. And I'm pretty sure that dude that she was getting the food from, I'm pretty sure that he builds up a stockpile and then goes off planet to sell them somewhere else. I'm pretty sure that most everybody in there was probably employed through him. They're kind of like his workers. They run a town, so, I mean, unless there's a lot of other towns, which we didn't see, but from what we did see, this one little town, it kind of like supplies him with parts, and then he goes and sells those parts and trades with other worlds, other groups. We know that Rey's been there for a very long time because she's making little scratch marks for every day, and she's got like a wall full of scratch marks. We know she knows how to fight because, I mean, she's a scavenger. If another scavenger comes along and wants to steal from her, she's going to have to know how to fight. Also, we can take a guess. We can mathematically figure out that she has close ties with this guy because of the stuff that she knew about the Falcon and about flying. Apparently, this guy took Rey with him whenever he went off world and probably taught her how to fly, but not how to land or take off, as she struggles with that. Of course, too, they also do make a point to say that there's supposed to be 2 pilots for the Falcon, and she's only one person, so she's trying to do a 2-man job completely on her own. Well, that stormtrooper, who we'll get back to in a second, he's operating the guns. We'll get back to this, though. So going back to the stormtrooper, we start to see that he is not exactly on board with being a stormtrooper. And we learn from that these stormtroopers are not like previous stormtroopers or the clone troopers. These were kids that were kidnapped at birth by the First Order and programmed to be like the perfect soldiers.
Wait, program? Like they literally got chipped inside their head?
No, they got brainwashed.
Oh. Wait, how did he not?
Well, that leads to another fan theory or something that he was so scared during that first mission, he dipped into the Force a bit and it broke the brainwashing. And there was there kind of are major hints that Finn, that stormtrooper, might actually be Force sensitive. Means he has the potential to be a Force user.
I mean, yeah, he literally, like, for the end part of the movie, he literally has a lightsaber.
And I think one of the things that mainly more fits this whole idea is the fact that as Kylo Ren was getting ready to get back on his ship out in that town, he's walking through and he stops and he looks right at Finn. Neither one of them say a word, and then finally he decides to get back on his ship. So, I mean, you could say that possibly Kylo Ren was detecting a small glimmer in the Force with this stormtrooper. But it wasn't enough to, like, really make him have to do anything about it. Like, it came and it went, and he's like, that's weird. But, anyways, moving on. Okay, so they have Poe on the Star Destroyer. We got new Star Destroyers, by the way.
You mean Death Star?
No, the Death Star's blown up. There is no more Death Stars.
What about the big one?
That's not the Death Star.
It looks like one.
Star Destroyers are the triangular ships. Anyways. So, Kylo Ren starts questioning Poe, right?
Uh-huh.
And what does he learn? That BB-8 has the map.
Yeah, that BB has map.
BB-8.
BB.
8? Do you not know how to say a number?
8!
There you go.
I want to call him BB.
Oh, that's not his name. It's BB-8.
That is... It's not BB, then it's 8.
Anyways, so what happens then? Does anybody help Poe?
Who's Poe again?
The pilot.
Oh yeah, the pilot. Yeah, the Stormtrooper, aka Finn, aka something I can't pronounce, that starts with an F.
FN8127.
Yeah, that. FN.
I'm just gonna call you Finn.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
But anyways, they get separated.
Oh, how do they get separated? On a Star Destroyer.
Okay, they go ahead and leave the Star Destroyer. They take a ship from the Star Destroyer, Thingamabob.
A TIE fighter?
Yeah, that. And then they land on a planet.
Jakku?
Tahu?
Jakku.
Jakku. Is that the planet?
Yes.
They land on Jakku. And
Well, they don't really land. They crash down on Jakku. And then Ben thinks Poe's dead. And then he makes his way to the town.
And then finds
Ray.
Ray.
Who has found
And then,
BB-8.
and then basically they could become buddies.
Not right away. She attacks him.
Well, not right away, but then they become buddies. Somewhat.
Well, he lies and says he's with the Resistance when he's not. And then the First Order comes to hunt them down. Should I just tell this? Because, I mean, you're not doing a very good job.
Yeah, you can tell.
Even though you freaking just sat through the movie. Weirdo. Sit up. Sit back. Smile. Act like you had fun. Since you didn't have fun, apparently. Anyways. So, they have to get off Jakku, and they're trying to get on board this one ship. And he's like, well, we need a pilot. And she's like, you've got one. And then they blow up that other ship. And so they take a ship she called Junk earlier, which turns out to be the Millennium Falcon. And then they're making their escape. And this is why I said she must have had lessons on how to fly. Because yes, she is actually a pilot. She does know how to fly. She struggles a little bit with the takeoff. And you could have factored that up to the fact that, like I said, she was probably taught to fly, but not to land. Not to take off. She knows how to do it. She understands the concept. Or you could just chalk it up to the fact that she was doing it by herself. Either way, she at least knows how to fly. And Finn is slowly getting better at shooting.
Slowly.
But, you know, it's not all perfect. And that's one thing that really bugged me. Is a lot of people try to call Rey a Mary Sue. Which basically, so you'll understand, Cora. A Mary Sue is a female character who's perfect at everything. But Rey was far from perfect at everything. She, like I said, she struggled with the takeoff. She knew how to repair the ship, but again, we've already established that she's a scavenger and knows how to navigate through a ship and repair it if she can take pieces off of a ship that are going to be worth something. She also knows how to repair those items so she can actually sell those items for food. She knows how to defend herself because she's had to defend herself probably for years against other scavengers and whatever wildlife is on that planet. I mean, a lot of people tried to call Jakku the new Tatooine, but every planet's got its predators. Every planet has its creatures that are gonna either be prey or be predators. And I'm sure she had to defeat some predators to survive as long as she did. As well as the other aliens that were there scavenging as well. So, she's not really a Mary Sue. We get good setups. If you pay attention, like I've told Anime D Senpai, the clues to her abilities are all right there. Unlike the George Lucas dialogue, they did not come right out and tell you, oh, I'm a pilot. I mean, Poe did. But that's because that's like his job in the Resistance. That is what he does. Her job was not pilot, but she did know how to fly. But yet, whereas George Lucas had both Anakin and Luke announce that they are pilots. And nobody cared that these two characters knew how to do things. Especially, you want to say anything, Anakin, as young as he was, being such a good pilot, kind of makes him whatever the male Mary Sue would be. But it gets explained away by, oh, he's strong in the Force. You know, but that doesn't mean that he knows how to do these things. Who taught this boy how to fly? When did he get a chance? Did Watto take him around on a ship? We don't get any evidence of that, so where did Anakin learn to fly? Why would Watto even think that Anakin could race a pod? So, I mean, there you could always turn the questions around, but we actually get some evidence that she clearly has these skills for a reason. Is she the greatest fighter? Not really. But she can handle her own. She can take care of herself to some degree. Against other scavengers, yeah, she's a pretty good match. We watched, actually Finn watched too. He watched her take out 2 scavengers at the same time that were trying to steal BB-8. So, there's that. Anyways, moving on. So they finally escape Jakku. They escape the First Order. And who picks them up, Cora? While they're trying to repair the ship.
I got it, hang on. Chewie and Solo.
Okay. And then we get the whole scene with them talking about Luke, talking about the map, talking about the Resistance.
Talking about everything.
And then they get attacked by 2 groups that Han basically swindled out of money. Now, I had this argument once with my friend Anime D Senpai. He didn't like those 2 groups. He thought that was really stupid. He was completely against it. But the thing he hated most is like, well, that undoes all the character development of Han from the original trilogy. And to that, I have to completely disagree. I think I talked about this in a previous video where I broke down some people's issues. And my friend was not the only one to have this issue. I saw other videos of people pointing this out. But while people pointed this out, they are not taking into account how realistic it is for this to happen. Han has always been a pilot, on the go, swindling people out of money, lying, cheating, stealing. And yeah, he fell in love with Leia. They had a child together. But then, at some time after having that child, Leia basically gave the child away to her brother to train to be a Jedi. We don't know how Han took that. He might have been upset about it and been like, you know, well, maybe I don't want my boy to be a Jedi. Maybe I want him to be a pilot. And that could have caused a rift between the 2 of them. But ultimately, Han went back to the lifestyle that he knew. You know, for 20 years I'm not saying it was exactly 20 years between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, but roughly
14 or...
But for that long period of time, the war against the Empire was pretty much over. There was somewhat peace. I mean, yeah, we're getting a little bit more now with The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and so many others that are coming out now. But we can surmise that Han being a general and not fitting in with the New Republic probably made him antsy to the point where he ended up falling back on his old ways. Going back to the lifestyle he knew. And since he didn't have his kid, and he was probably mad at Leia for letting his kid go, in that sense, he decided, I'm going back to being a smuggler. maybe he did it at first just for the thrills. But then when he actually left Leia, he needed to do it for the money. He ended up losing the Falcon. And he, as he, they point out in the movie, it kind of looks like they were tracking the Falcon down for years before settling into this new job where he's transporting dangerous creatures. And since he's Han Solo, he probably knew ways to get around Republic checks. So, there's a whole... that is very realistic that someone of a criminal past is never going to fully let go of that criminal past. And even in their old age, could fall back to it. That's just realistic storytelling. So, I applaud that, and I think that actually makes everything we saw with Han fit for why he was where he was. But moving on, so they outwit and defeat the two groups that came to basically kill Han and Chewie, and they escape once again, now en route to another planet where Han can get BB-8 back to the Resistance, back to Leia, and while they're there, basically, the First Order finds out where they are, the Resistance finds out where they are, Rey finds Luke's lightsaber that he lost in Empire Strikes Back, which used to belong to Anakin when he was defeated by Obi-Wan. So there's that. Then all hell breaks loose, and the First Order shows up, but luckily the Resistance shows up too to kind of help fight off the First Order. But while the Resistance gets the map, Kylo Ren ends up getting Rey. Now, this is the issue that, here once again, where this is more proof that she is not a Mary Sue. Because while she is very good with a staff or a melee weapon, she's not super great with a blaster. And Kylo Ren took her down pretty darn quick. She wasn't a match for Kylo Ren at this point. Now, I can't really get into spoilers at this moment, but I want everybody to remember this moment when you watch our future videos, because I will be talking about something during the last movie, which will harken back to this moment during episode 7. So, moving on, they have Rey, and the Resistance, they're going to launch a rescue attempt, but more so, they need to take down this new base, which Cora has been dying to talk about. What is this new base, Cora?
Giant Death Star! Big! Destroy more planets! Big Death Star!
It can kill 4 planets at once.
Well, not kill or destroy, but yes, it can
kill. Destroy, same difference.
Yeah.
And it's called Star Killer Base.
Yeah. You gotta play that.
That's no moon. It's a planet. Now, I'm not entirely sure, but I think a lot of people have this wrong about Star Killer Base. I think Star Killer Base does have the potential to move. It's just very, very slow. And I think what it does is it moves from system to system, drains the sun of the nearby system, converting all that sun's energy into power, and then destroys 4 or 5 planets within that system, and then it can start moving to another system. The Death Star was slow, but it wasn't that slow. It could go to at least hyperspace. Maybe Star Killer Base can too, but it must...
If anything, that point, it'll need like 5 suns, and like if anything, the speed will most likely be like a normal ship.
Well, it saps the power from a sun. So if it does that, then that means it has to be able to move from system to system. Because otherwise, once you drain the one sun in that system, you're basically powerless.
Like, literally.
So it wouldn't be a very effective weapon if the planet couldn't move on some fashion. So, that's why I say, I think a lot of people have that wrong, and we're not completely understanding it, and we're just sitting there thinking, oh, it can shoot up planets clear across the galaxy. No, it can only shoot planets within a certain range. That range is significantly further than the Death Star could. But it has to be able to move itself into the path or into the orbit of a nearby sun. I mean, that'd be like, okay, so when the Death Star destroyed Alderaan, it was about the distance from Earth to the moon. You're talking about a planet that has to be like as close as Mercury to destroy a planet like Saturn. That's really far away. It would take us months to take a ship, a rocket ship, a spaceship, whatever you want to call it, a space shuttle, from Earth just to Mars, and Mars is right next door to us. It would take us months, maybe a year, to fly that distance.
So it'll take like 1,000 decades.
No.
What?
But from Mercury all the way to Saturn,
Yeah,
that is way further away.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like it'll take like 1,000 decades.
And when it fires, it can take out Mars, Saturn, Earth, and Uranus all at the same time. So, no, Cara, seriously, come on. Every joke done to death. But anyways, that's Starkiller Base. So Han, Chewie, and Finn, they show up not only to help save Rey, but also to help the Resistance by lowering the shield and putting some bombs in.
Kaboom!
But they managed to get the shield down. They launched their attack. Meanwhile, they're catching up with Rey. They're gonna go lay the charges to help destroy some of the base, and I will let Cora talk about this scene. Who do we find on a bridge?
Solo and the bad guys did.
Kylo Ren
Yeah, Kylo Ren.
or Ben?
Ben. Sorry. Kylo Ren, Ben, sorry, no rhymes. Okay, anyways. They meet and basically it looks like Ben is going on the good side. Like hand his lightsaber. That's what it looks like. But then, kabam! He stabs his father, Solo, and with the lightsaber.
Saber. Come on.
He died. I'm getting him.
And what happens to Han?
Well, he dies.
Yep. Now, do you realize that of the original 3 main characters, Han was the last one we met?
Yeah.
Because we met in the originals. First we met Leia, then we met Luke, then we met Han.
Wait.
So we've lost Han, we got Luke and Leia left.
Wait, so there's Luke gonna go to Leia?
Maybe.
It's in reverse!
Well, I guess you just have to wait until we watch the others to find out if that's what happens. If that is what happens, wouldn't that be genius to take out the original cast the opposite way they came in?
No, because there would be Star Wars without them.
But anyways, so now we got probably one of the coolest scenes. We got a fight between who?
Ben and Leia?
No.
Oh.
Kylo Ren and Finn.
Ben and Finn. And then it's Ben and Leia. Well, not Leia.
Rey.
Ray. Yeah, I'm getting the two mixed up.
Well, call him Kylo Ren and Rey.
Not the way.
Anyways, so what did you think of those fight scenes?
Good, amazing,
Now,
fantastic.
Anime D Senpai was actually just talking with me about this the other day. That supposedly there are a lot slower fight scenes, and I can maybe see it. It's barely noticeable if it is. If they are slower, it's because they're using different forms than the Jedi. First off, Rey's version of fighting. I mean, I feel like the Kylo Ren and Finn fight was much faster, movement wise, than the Rey and Finn, or Rey and Kylo Ren fight. But if you really pay attention, she's using a certain kind of fighting style, which was only used by one other character. And also part of her fighting style with the lightsaber was mocking or mimicking the exact same way she fought with her staff from the beginning. She used the staff to make a lot of jabs and pokes, and then she would strike, and she did a lot of the same movements with the lightsaber. So that's how she was able to successfully fight off Kylo Ren with the lightsaber, because she wasn't using it like a lightsaber, she was using it as a replacement for her staff. As far as the speed of the fights, though, Kylo Ren's lightsaber is actually more like a claymore. A huge two-handed sword, which is often more slow in attacks. But it does have more power behind it. You can get more power and more thrust. So I can see why maybe it was a scooch slower than the prequels. But again, I mean, that's just how I feel about it. Let us know in the comments below what you think about it. But finally, Starkiller Base is destroyed. Everybody gets away, as far as we know. And Rey is tasked by Leia to go and find Luke, because finally R2-D2 wakes up from a coma that he put himself into. And we got C-3PO still with a red arm. I don't know if we brought that up yet. No. And she goes to the planet where Luke is and hands out, or sticks out the lightsaber to give to Luke. And that's where it ends. Now, I want to just go out on a limb and say, okay, so if I had any at all complaints, I feel like that is the biggest mistake of Episode 7. They should have ended it with them just taking off in the Falcon to go find Luke. Because every Star Wars movie has always had a time gap. And the way that it's shot there does make it out to seem that it's pretty instant, when it probably wasn't. Because we know space travel takes a while, that we're just getting jump cutted from one thing to another. Sometimes they illustrate this by showing other scenes, or sometimes they don't. Alderaan was way far away from Tatooine, and they actually had other scenes to break up, like they were able to go do stuff. Here, Luke went through a certain path to a certain place, and we have no idea, like, from where they were, how far that was. So if they had just ended it with the Falcon taking off, we could have said, oh, well, a year or so went by because they needed to travel the same path to find Luke. And then we could have gotten them arriving at the new planet where Luke is at the very beginning of the next movie. But now, the way it ended, like, there is no reason for a title crawl because we're just going to pick up right where this one leaves off. So what are you going to title crawl in the next movie? I think that was the first big mistake I noticed before we even got into the next movie, which will be The Last Jedi. So, alright, with that said, we are going to go ahead and take a break. I know this has been a long one. Like I said, these are probably going to be much longer now. I got a lot more to talk about. Even though I'm defending it, I'm not a huge naysayer of the sequels. They have their strengths, but when we come back, I'll probably say a little bit more. So, see you guys in a little bit.
In the shadows of a winter night so cold, the North Pole's tale of courage must unfold. Enemies surround, dark clouds in the sky. Santa gathers his forces, for freedom they'll vie. With whispers of magic and fears intertwined, an army of legends, their destinies aligned. We're rising together through sorrow and pain. With hope in our hearts, we'll break every chain. The North Pole is ours, our spirits ignite. A battle for hope will emerge from the night. Elves with their laughter, warriors at heart, trolls with their strength, ready to take part. Fairies will beckon the winds to obey, as goblins plot mischief to light up the fray. In forests enchanting, where darkness has grown, dwarves and humans uniting, reclaiming their throne. We're rising together through sorrow and pain. With hope in our hearts, we'll break every chain. The North Pole is ours, our spirits ignite. A battle for home will emerge from the night. So gather your courage, let courage unfold. For the magic of winter is a sight to behold.
Alright, Cora, starting with you on a scale of 1 to 10. What would you give Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens?
10 out of 10.
Why 10 out of 10?
It's a great movie.
What was great about it?
I have no idea.
So you don't agree with a lot of people that this is kind of a rehash of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope?
Well, it's made by Disney.
Yeah, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
One went on in China. Two, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm not worried about who made this. I'm worried about the story and the story alone. You said it had a good story. What was good about the story?
Because it was a good story.
Do you feel like the story was a copy of
No.
A New Hope?
No.
Because here's why people say it's a copy of A New Hope. So A New Hope, there's plans that are given to a droid. A droid gets on a desert planet, meets up with our protagonist. The protagonist has to get the droid to the rebels. On the way, they have to bring down a giant super weapon or get away from a giant super weapon. There's a bad guy in black who's going to chase after them. They have to rescue a prisoner. They have to take down the giant weapon and save the day. Did any of that stuff happen in both movies? Did we have a droid that was given a secret mission?
Yes.
Did that droid end up on a desert planet?
Yes, but just because it has 9 similarities, it is not a copy. Yes, this is made by Disney. Yes, some of the helpers probably most likely seen the Western Star Wars movies. But who cares? Disney's Disney. Did they make the other 6 movies? No, they only got to make 3.
Well,
And if I'm correct, they're probably the ones making the 10th one.
they didn't make the first 6 exactly, but I feel like they've always had a hand in Star Wars. Because I'm pretty sure they own the Jim Henson Company, which has done a lot of work with Star Wars in the past. And not only that, Disney has had a ride called Star Tours for like a very long time. So, but anyways, who was your favorite character in this one?
The little robot, a BB-8. Yeah, BB-8.
Why BB-8?
Yeah, he's just cute.
That's the reason? He's a cute little robot?
Yeah, he's cute and adorable. And you should not disprove my point. And if you do, I will not pay attention to you.
And you can actually understand him if you listen closely enough, right?
Yeah.
I'm alone. So now, let's see. So now we got the 3 things that Cora really likes from Star Wars is BB-8, Grogu, and the Ewoks.
Yeah. I think I just know.
What was your favorite scene?
Explosion, kaboom.
Oh, there's a lot of explosions.
Every single one was kaboom.
Alright. Well, then go ahead and moving on to my score.
Finally.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give this one a 9. Yeah, I can see the arguments that it is kind of a rehash of A New Hope. But I will say this. Where this stands out for me is, first off, It didn't have any clunky, crappy dialogue like the prequels had here and there. It had some really cool effects, like Kylo Ren stopping a blaster shot that was aimed at his head at the very beginning. Like, that whole opening segment with Kylo Ren showing up and capturing Poe, that was freaking epic. I do kind of wish that they had stuck with one director throughout the entire series, and we didn't get a lot of issues we got going forward, but this was a good, solid startup for Disney's Star Wars. And I can't say I don't understand the hate, but I can definitely defend against some of that hate. Like I said, I like most of these characters. Poe is not my absolute favorite, but he's not the worst. Kylo Ren being like, okay, so another thing my friend Anime D Senpai would often bring up is he hates how Kylo Ren just goes off on things. And it's like, well, that's his version of being Darth Vader. Darth Vader killed people, and he just throws temper tantrums. But he's a lot younger than Darth Vader. He has a lot more to deal with than Darth Vader did. Anakin kind of threw his own little temper tantrums, but he had Jedi training behind it. And I don't know, I think a villain that can be more unpredictable can be a lot more dangerous. Darth Vader wasn't very unpredictable. He had a lot of focus behind himself by the point of the originals. Now, maybe when he first started off as Vader, he was a bit more like Kylo Ren. But we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, so. But no, I thought Kylo Ren was a really good bad guy. I loved all the mysteries and questions that this movie left us with. Like, who was that Snoke character? Who are Rey's parents? You know, who was that person that left Rey? You know, not necessarily know if it was her parents or not, but there was just a whole bunch of mysteries. And I even love kind of, now that you've seen that, I do kind of love this whole joke that she had when she met BB-8. When she asked BB-8, you know, who are you, where are you from? And asking about his history. And he must have said something like, it's top secret. And she kind of goes, yeah, me too. My past is top secret. Like, kind of joking with the fans, I think, saying, hey, yeah, we know. We're giving you a mystery to solve. I really did enjoy this, though. So, that is going to go ahead and end this one. I know that most of you are probably going to send us hate comments like, oh, how could you like this? But you know what? Everybody's to their own. And if you put aside all the negative out of movie stuff and just enjoy these movies for being just that, part of a story, you find you might enjoy it just a little bit more. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up, and we will see you all in the next video.